Exactly when Apple will launch the iPhone 17, iPhone 17 Air, and iPhone 17 Pro. I need Apple to make the iPhone 17 cameras amazing. Here's what it should do. Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference was a disappointment for me, with no new hardware introduced and few new improvements beyond a glassy interface for iOS 26. I'm staking my hopes that the iPhone 17 will get my pulse racing, and the greatest way it can achieve so is via the camera. The iPhone 16 Pro already features one of the greatest camera systems available on any phone. It's capable of shooting amazing shots in all settings. Throw in its ProRes video, log recording, and the clever 4K slow motion feature, and it's a formidable video shooter too. It even put up a good battle against the other finest camera phones available, like the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the Pixel 9 Pro, and the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Despite that, it's still not the ideal camera. While early rumors from industry sources indicate that the phone's video talents would receive a boost, there's more the iPhone 17 will need to make it an all-round photographic powerhouse. As both an experienced phone reviewer and a professional photographer, I have unusually high expectations for top-end phone cameras, and having used the iPhone 16 Pro since its inception, I have some opinions on what needs to change. At Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple showed off the improvements to the next iOS 26, which includes a drastic shift to the UI with liquid glass. But that streamlined design applied to the camera app too, with Apple cutting the UI down to the most basic features of photo, video, and zoom levels. Presumably, the aim is to make it very simple for even the most newbie of photographers to unlock the camera and start snapping Instagram-worthy images. And that's wonderful, but what about those of us who purchase the Pro models in order to take deeper advantage of features like exposure adjustment, photographic styles, and ProRaw formats? It's not fully apparent yet how these functions may be accessible inside the new camera interface, but they need to not be buried away. Many photographers, myself very much included, want to utilize these technologies as normal, utilizing our powerful iPhones in much the same way we would a mirrorless camera from Canon or Sony. That means depending on sophisticated settings to exert control over the image-taking process to generate photos that go beyond mere snaps. If anything, Apple's camera software has always been too simplistic, with even fundamental options like white balance being absent. To see Apple reduce things to an even more simple level is upsetting, and I want to see how the firm will continue to make these phones usable for avid photographers. Though the 1/1.28-inch sensor featured in the iPhone 16 Pro's primary camera is already a decent size and somewhat larger than the S24 Ultra's 1/1.33-inch sensor, I want to see Apple go bigger. A bigger picture sensor may collect more light and give higher dynamic range. It's why Pro cameras tend to have at least full-frame image sensors, but extremely high-end cameras, like the magnificent Hasselblad 907X, have massive medium-format sensors for flawless picture quality. Xiaomi knows this, equipping its 15 Ultra and prior 14 Ultra with 1-inch type sensors. It's bigger than the sensors found on nearly any other phone, which enabled the 15 Ultra to shoot gorgeous shots all across Europe, while the 14 Pro was heroic in catching a Taylor Swift concerts. I'm curious to see Apple at least equal Xiaomi's phone here with a comparable 1-inch type sensor. Though if we're talking pie-in-the-sky fantasies, maybe the iPhone 17 might be the first smartphone with a full-frame picture sensor. I won't hold my breath on that one. The phone and the lenses would need to be massive to support it, so it'd likely be more efficient simply to let you make calls with your mirrorless camera. Speaking of the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, one of the other reasons the phone rocks so hard for photography is its variable aperture on the primary camera. Its largest aperture is f/1.6, much wider than the f/1.78 of the iPhone 16 Pro. That larger aperture brings in a lot of light in dark settings and more accurately generates out-of-focus bokeh around a subject. The iPhone 17 Air, formerly expected to be dubbed the iPhone 17 Slim, would purportedly give iPhone enthusiasts a new, slimmer version of Apple's smartphone. Bloomberg's well-connected writer Mark Gurman thinks this is part of a strategy to develop a new class of Apple devices that should be the thinnest and lightest products in the whole tech industry. The iPhone 17 Air will supposedly have a 6.6-inch or 6.7-inch display and a full-length camera bar with a single lens. That screen is anticipated to be OLED with a resolution of 1290 by 2796, somewhat smaller than the iPhone 17 Pro Max is projected to be. The phone may possibly sport a makeover, similar to how the iPhone X shook up the iPhone series when it deleted the home button and introduced the notch in 2018. That said, speculations of it being aluminum rather than titanium are a little alarming given the pricing discussion being batted around. Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo predicts that the iPhone 17 Air will emphasize being thin above all else, to the extent that the phone may just have a single primary camera lens. The newest speculations say that the phone might be as small as 5.5mm thick, while the camera hump may bring the top half of the phone up to 9.5mm. Apple revealed a new C1 5G modem with the iPhone 16e, and it will allegedly come to the iPhone 17 Air, but no other iPhone 17 variants. But all iPhone 17s should have new Wi-Fi 7 modems, also built by Apple. Still, with reports pointing to a 2,800 mAh battery for the Air, the new phone might struggle to deliver similar battery life to the rest of the iPhone 17 series. When the iPhone 17 Air launches, it will have a competition waiting for it. The Galaxy S25 Edge is now available in shops, and the $1,099 phone is only 5.8mm thin at its narrowest point. Apple will introduce the iPhone 17 series later in 2025, presumably in the autumn, since that's when the firm has announced the next generation of software, iOS 26, would go on public release. It's just had an unexpected upgrade to the developer beta cycle. Exactly when the phones will debut hasn't been revealed, but it's easy to narrow down the date with some confidence. To be clear, when I mention iPhone 17 throughout this, I'm also referring to the remainder of the iPhone 17 series. In other words, the normal iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro, the bigger iPhone 17 Pro Max, and the all-new super slim iPhone, which is said to be on the horizon. It may be dubbed the iPhone 17 Air, or it may have some other moniker, which Apple thinks emphasizes the sleek, attractive aspect of this phone. So far, there have been no reports of delays for any of the four, so I expect all will be introduced at the same presentation, but it's still conceivable that one or more might experience a delay to its release date, as occurred in the past with the iPhone X and iPhone XR in 2017 and 2018 respectively. Apple's largest presentation of the year always involves the iPhone, and typically the Apple Watch and, occasionally, another device like AirPods. It usually occurs in around the first part of September, often on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and never on September 11. We can rule out the first pair since it fully overlaps with the large consumer electronics show in Berlin, IFA, which runs September 5 to 9, with press days shortly before that. The US and foreign reporters will be tied up in Germany that week. Also, Labor Day is Monday, September 1st, and Apple doesn't select the week Labor Day occurs in. The third couple of dates sounds too late for me, but they're not impossible. If Apple encounters a hiccup in manufacturing, it can postpone the launch to that week. Most probable are Tuesday, September 9, or Wednesday, September 10. Last year, Apple picked Monday, September 9 for the keynote, therefore the Monday in that week, September 8, is also plausible. My instinct suggests it will be on Tuesday, September 9 at 10 a.m. Pacific at Apple's Cupertino headquarters. The pre-order date may fluctuate a bit, but it's normally on the Friday of the week before the keynote. So, presuming September 9 is the day the keynote occurs, as I assume it will be, then pre-orders will start on Friday, September 12. As for the timing, this normally starts at local hours, frequently around 1 p.m. wherever you are. This means it's first in locations like Australia, later in the US due of the time zones. Previously, Apple has allowed users jump ahead of the line the night before pre-orders begin Thursday, September 11 in this situation, so they may pick the color, storage level, and model of iPhone then and make the purchase when pre-orders open the next day. Assuming the keynote occurs on September 10, or one day that week, the release date, as sure as eggs is eggs, will be the Friday of the next week, Friday, September 19. Assuming for any reason the keynote shifts to the week starting September 17, then Friday, September 26 will be the on-sale date for the iPhone 17, iPhone Air, iPhone 17 Pro, and iPhone 17 Pro Max, assuming those are the names decided for the phones anticipated. In commenting on the release date for the iPhone 17, CNET has claimed that the iPhone 17 series would likely be introduced in the first part of September. But it also reflects on how this could not be the way things are after this year. The iPhone 17 lineup may be the last to follow this fall release model. Starting with the iPhone 18, Apple will allegedly separate its phone releases, such that lower-cost iPhones debut in the early part of the year and the higher-end Pro versions become available later in the year. But that isn't scheduled to happen until 2026, therefore you can likely still expect the iPhone 17 Pro to go available this fall, it says. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tech news and updates.